Pastor Roy Gearhart from Galloway United Methodist Church in Franklin, Pennsylvania, sharing a few words of encouragement to help us follow after Jesus. Well, I want to make a confession. I love Chinese kung fu movies. I know to some of you that may seem ridiculous, but for others, you could name the action heroes just like I can. And I love the action, I love the intensity of those fight scenes. But you know what? Even though I love watching kung fu movies, I don't expect at the end of it to be a kung fu master. But some of you go to church on Sundays, and that's all that you do. You go to church, you listen to a sermon, you listen to some singing, maybe you even join in a bit, and expect to come out of that a growing, dynamically empowered disciple of Jesus. And that just isn't going to happen. You see, you may be a person who's watching kung fu movies expecting to be a kung fu master, or watching workout videos while eating potato chips on the couch and expecting to get in shape. That's what it's like. And when you and I simply go to church on Sundays and expect to be a person of deep faith and devotion in Jesus. A friend of mine has described himself as a person who once was a spiritual bulimic. He picked that term up from the book Point Man. And it was a dynamic that had taken over his life where he came to church on Sundays. He would listen to the message. He would get into the worship. He would have this moment when he was very excited, very blessed, and would just kind of gorge his soul on all of that excitement and blessing. But he said when he went out the door, it was like a bulimic who just leaves that all behind. And he left behind all of those spiritual food and fuel for his life right there at the church. Because when he walked out the door, that didn't go into practice in his life. It didn't affect him in a way that he took up a pursuit day by day to follow after Jesus. Not that it didn't influence him at all, but it certainly was not something that he picked up on and engaged in throughout the week. And it was not something then that had a real empowering or a transforming effect in his life. It wasn't until he began to really seek after God with a time of great need and struggle in his life that he really began to apply this pursuit of God in his day-to-day life. And instead of just going on Sunday and getting excited and stimulated for a little while and then walking out the door with nothing to carry him through the rest of the week, he began to hungrily seek after God daily with devotions, gathering in small groups of men to share in fellowship. And the empowerment to his life began to grow. The transformation to his life began to increase. That's the dynamic that you and I, each and every one of us, need to take up as a pursuit. That we need that day-to-day engagement. We need something that we bring home with us. And you know, last week we were looking at the way in which the early church, at its very beginning, right at the launch in the second chapter of Acts, how it put those things into play. We saw in Acts chapter 2, verses 42 to 47, that there was a continued engagement in public gatherings at the temple. They would worship there, listen to the word, no doubt, share in this gathering of believers together. But that wasn't the end of it. They went beyond that. It says that they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, and they were devoted to fellowship. This took them into each other's lives, where they began to get invested. I mean, literally, they actually sold things so that they could pool their resources and make sure that nobody was going in want. They took care of each other that way. They broke bread in each other's homes. This was literally something they took home with each other, so that they were continuing this pursuit of God, spurring each other on in it, and praying together. And I would say that praying together is something that you and I don't learn just by listening to someone up on a platform in a church service pray and lead us all in a prayer. It's something that you and I have to engage in. And that means that we have to take this message of the gospel, this empowerment of the Holy Spirit, and this love of God and of each other into our day-to-day lives. Our hearts have to be shaped into a compassionate, caring, dedicated, hungry heart in order to engage in prayer that would pursue God and let his power open up in our lives. Well, may God bless you today. And as you share this good news, may God make you a blessing wherever he takes you.